Well, hello, and welcome back to Growing Through the Vents. This is Anitra, and welcome to episode 3. Honestly, I was not expecting to talk about this so early on here, but here we are. Low-key, I was subconsciously trying to tell you all the analogy without expressing the breakthrough experience that helped me get to it. That's part of the reason it's taken so long to come up with this outline. That, and I had to close my store. I'm also supposed to go out of town and have not even began packing. And I've just been all over the place. My days are like blending together. But it's going to be all right. I strongly believe that God will give you the same lesson multiple times, even with a new face, until you get what you're supposed to get from that lesson. That being said, I know there were points in my life where I had an opportunity to learn what took me a few times to finally get, which is this perspective that has helped me maintain my peace. If I could only give one piece of advice to anyone, it would be this. But first, let me give you some context. Let's rewind back a little bit. By now, you all know of the breakup that was a staple in my growth, at least this far at this point in my growth, which dates the storyline back to 2021. And let's pause for a second because this is hard to talk about because I'm not trying to make anyone feel no type of way. But if you are feeling a type of way or begin to through this, just trust the process and keep listening. As you could imagine, the breakup was hard. I had great support climbing out of that depression, and I had consistent support while on a journey to find myself again. I was most definitely going through it, but figuring out the things that make me happy, that I enjoy, and even differentiating between the things that I like versus having an emotional attachment to something. I was working really hard on being a happier and healthier version of myself, climbing away from a place that felt like it was only going to continue to grow darker. I had a whole lot of people consistently trying to be a light in that really dark space. People from my village, my family that have been there my whole life. People you knew would be there for everything. The good, the bad, the ugly. If you had an army, this would be your front line to any battle. No doubts, right? Especially after all that we've already been through together. I was going to therapy, learning more about myself, growing my relationship with God, and finding the beauty in all of the things. All with my people around me, helping me stay lifted and reminding me to adjust my crown anytime it tilted through heartache or anytime I just felt broken. I was doing really well, and then suddenly, I didn't feel so good. I went from waking up at 4:30 in the morning every day to go to the gym to not being able to get out of bed until after 3 in the afternoon. Feeling like I was choking or gasping randomly for no apparent reason, and started to get really shaky, having these tremors that made my body feel a sense of motion sickness that I had never experienced in my life. I was trying not to freak out. But honestly, what the fuck? Because I'm not even depressed to be feeling this fatigued anymore. And I'm eating really super clean. I'm getting some sun. I'm going to the gym, but nothing really to show of it. I was mentally the best I had ever felt at that point in my life, especially to be feeling so down, yet not depressed. The math just wasn't mathing. Not even able to get out of bed or be any kind of productive, especially the kind of productive that I hold myself to be. And so I made an appointment to go to the doctor. By this time, it's July of 2021. My thyroid seems enlarged, but the lab work all comes back normal. Let's go ahead and just schedule an ultrasound, which led to a few biopsies. And on my dad's birthday, August 17th, I was diagnosed with papillary thyroid carcinoma, thyroid cancer. Oh, wow. Way to thicken the plot. I was not ready for that. I was prepared for all of the other thyroid things I did research on: Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism, but cancer? I had moved back in with my parents back in February after the breakup and after the lease was up. So when I got the call regarding the biopsy, I was downstairs by myself working from home. My neck's still sore from being poked in like 18 different spots earlier that morning. And now from trying to swallow any uncertainty, panic, and the tears, because was I trying to swallow those tears? When you're diagnosed with thyroid cancer, they tell you at least it's one of the most reversible cancers. If I were to have to pick a cancer, it would probably be that one. But cancer is cancer, and who wants to have to pick? Thyroid cancer is more common than you would assume. It's not hereditary, it just kind of picks you. And now that I've done a little bit more research, it's not proven, but seems to be more demographic. On average, once you're diagnosed, you have an hour or two long procedure where they remove half or all of the thyroid. You stay in the hospital for a day or two and may potentially have to do a small dosage of radioactive iodine. But you may not even have to do that. That's it. There's only a 1 to 3% chance that your vocal cords or windpipes get damaged. There's only a 1 to 3% chance that a chyle leak will leak into your bloodstream. And I am beyond grateful that thyroid cancer is a low-risk cancer and that it's not a very progressive type. But I'm too extra for average, and I do not say that as a flex. The first specialist I saw was only a few years into his career. And I'm not knocking him. He was very compassionate and had genuine bedside manner. He obviously went to school for a long time to get to this point. He did another ultrasound, and he was pretty confident when I walked through the door that this was probably going to be something pretty routine for him. Until he saw the ultrasound. At that point, he had a great sense of urgency to schedule surgery for the following week. Whoa, guy, calm down. You're moving pretty quickly. Pump the brakes. I don't let anyone take me to bed after a week, not even a doctor. We got to get to know each other a little bit better than that. But you moving quickly, just let me know it's more serious than you anticipated. I mean, just imagine how overwhelming everything felt. Thank God he and I are locked in, because if it were 6 months earlier, I probably would have just folded. Man, someone gather the troops. I just entered one of the biggest battles of my life, and I'm way too overwhelmed with emotions, and there's no getting used to these symptoms that are literally trying to drain me. Except when the call went out, not everyone that you knew would picked up. Wait, what? Think about it. You're about to go to war, and half of the troops don't show up. We don't even know what we're about to be walking into or what we're about to have to face. And I'm not about to text people that I have cancer, nor am I going to post it on social media, because that's not how I would want anybody to find out. So if I didn't hear back from you or didn't see you, you didn't know. But I knew. I knew I tried to call a few times. I knew my family in distress tried to reach out. I knew I'm not about to beg or force anyone to be there for me, and I for damn sure didn't want anyone to be there out of pity, sorrow, or just because of the cancer. To me, that would have not been genuine. I met with my favorite doctor, who is reputably one of the best doctors, especially in Kansas City, for the job that I needed done. He went to Johns Hopkins. He was the vice president in his department and taught the residents to confidently handle these situations. He required that I had another ultrasound done, but with the techs that he trusted most. And they were most definitely sure to get all of the angles, which led to more biopsies and being poked a couple more dozen times. And I hope none of you have to experience it, but ponder with me for a moment. You're in a room awake, having to keep your head back while these extra long needles go in every quadrant of your neck to attempt to numb your neck enough to biopsy each of those areas multiple times. In an area that is already super sensitive, that already feels tight based on how enlarged the thyroid is, which, for reference, my thyroid was large enough to see with the naked eye. But I gotta be a tough cookie because I'm either going to have to see it through to get it out or continue to feel miserable and just like victimize myself. I tried everything holistic and nothing was working. So let me go ahead and let him be as thorough as possible with this testing so we can just get it over with. I just want to feel better. And the only way to get there at this point is to face it. Working on my mental health before the diagnosis helped me understand that if I focus on how I'm feeling, I'm only going to be feeling worse. And how I was feeling was out of my control. So just keep going, stay in motion. You got this. The support that was there for the experience was consistent. The group chats were popping, the visits were sincere. They were nurturing and compassionate and didn't make me feel coddled or like I was only as good as my cancer allowed me to be. I am beyond blessed to have the support that I had, but it didn't mean the missing troops weren't still missing. Anyways, I didn't have time, or more so, couldn't have time to even worry about it. Because no matter how much I tried, I was stuck on the couch or in the bed, feeling exhausted and in discomfort and in pain. If I wasn't forcing myself to go to work or at day-long appointments, I was just tired. And I need you all to understand, I am stubborn. I am very much a princess, but I also don't like others to do anything for me. I am most definitely an I can do it myself type of girl. I will make my own breads. I will fix the washer and dryer. I will run a business successfully. I'm going to make sure whatever needs to be done gets done. Delegating is something that I'm still trying to find comfort in or even push myself to do. And it goes back to the saying, if you want something done right, do it yourself. So when it started to feel like such work to even sit up or have conversations or eat or drink anything, I had to learn to lean on those that were there. They most definitely helped me maintain my faith and keep me lifted, even if they didn't realize it. And my faith helped me wear it well. It helped me continue to walk with grace. But oh my God, that does not mean that it wasn't heavy. Boy, was it heavy. And you know when you've had people there for you in a specific way that they've been there for you, and then they don't show up when you feel like you need them the most, it starts to feel a little bit personal. Cash Doll once said, don't introduce me to a vibe you can't maintain. And I was feeling that. A year ago when I was crying from a breakup, the same people would have pulled up. But when I'm crying because my body is legit trying to take me down, it's crickets or just some random text saying, thinking about you. Now, personally, I don't find it necessary to speak on everything. What's understood doesn't need to be explained. I got it. You're busy. I got it. That's how you show support. I got it. I got it. You don't got to make sure I'm good. I'm going to be good. You don't have to check to see how my family, what I consider our family, is doing. I'm going to make sure they're good too. It's cool. Just do you. I'm not even mad. Not even any hard feelings, but just keep that same energy. It's good. We're good. September 21st comes along and it's 4:30 in the morning. I'm walking into the hospital for surgery. By this time, I know my slow progressing type of cancer had spread from the left side of my thyroid through the middle and to the right side, as well as the lymph nodes on the right side, left, and in the center of my neck. My thyroidectomy was now going to be a total neck dissection from ear to ear. It was still COVID, but those on my front line broke the rules a little of that limit of 2 and all waited in the waiting room while I was getting ready for my first surgery. I had never even broken a bone before, but the possibilities of anything going left was only a 1 to 3% chance. 97 to 99% probability that everything was going to go well. Plus, I'm going to have to do it anyways. I might as well just do it and be grateful for the care team that I have, because truly they are the best. After 5.5 hours in the operating room, the doctor wakes me up. We had to stop the surgery. He was able to get the left side of the thyroid out along with many of the lymph nodes, but the rest of the thyroid and lymph nodes are going to have to wait. My vocal cords collapsed, which blocked my airway for me being able to breathe. And though they revived them, my vocal cords are now damaged. It's now a bigger risk to finish the surgery, especially right now. Thankfully, I was asleep with the help of anesthesia during the fiasco, but the news my family got while I was still on the operating table, that my windpipes collapsed, which had prohibited me from breathing. Shout out to them for keeping their faith too. I had these drain tubes on each side of my neck to help my blood flow get used to the extra space, and they sent me to my room. The doctors and nurses made sure I was comfortable and let my family start flowing in for visits. They've been there since 4:30 in the morning, and it's now 7 in the evening. And my mom comes in and she's like, "Why does the blood in the tube look like a strawberry shake?" The nurse calls the doctor, who comes in immediately with a few more doctors to evaluate. It's a chyle leak. So basically, I have these fatty liquids leaking into my bloodstream. And if they can't get it to reverse itself, then I'm going to have to go into emergency surgery. But let's try this first. They roll up a ball of medical tape really super tight until it's the size of an apricot. They call it an apricot. Firmly securing it on the left side of my neck where the tube is inserted into the incision, and they apply pressure as if you're applying pressure to a paper cup, but with a whole lot more pain and discomfort based on where it's located and the amount of days I had to apply it. My 1 night in the hospital turned into 8 nights. I was on a clear, liquid, non-fat diet while I was in the hospital, followed by a chyle leak diet for a few weeks. Thankfully, the chyle leak did reverse itself. The nurses through my 8 days were spectacular, not just to me, but to my family. But it's not over yet. Now I have this vocal cord injury. I have to start vocal therapy. I thought I was going to start feeling better. It's September. It's been happening since July at this point. I was hoping to feel better by my niece's first Christmas, and I don't even know if that's going to be happening. But it's out of my control. The only thing in my control is making sure that I'm doing everything that I can be doing to make sure I'm still on the path to eventually be able to put this behind me. I mean, as much as I can. I will always have to have annual appointments, and I'll always have to have a thyroid replacement medicine, but be cool, just chill, don't panic. I can only imagine how those that were on my front line, especially for this first part, felt. I can only tell you the experience as the person going through the diagnosis and not as the person having to watch somebody go through it. But they were there. They stayed, they prayed, and they cracked jokes. They were helping my ship just stay afloat. I started to realize that my front line was full of those that I needed to be there for this battle. And was more open and accepting and acknowledging the people that added themselves to my front line. The ones that were consistently checking in, making sure that me and the troops were good, that everyone was informed and was quick to pick up pieces that I didn't even realize needed to be picked up. The second surgery was scheduled for January of 2022, and it went really well. But my immediate family tested positive with COVID the day before. Where I was planning to be throughout my recovery. But not only do I have a compromised immune system from having cancer and a lack of lymph nodes, but my body is healing from being cut open another time. So going home has been taken off the table. I can't afford to have COVID. However, I hands down have the best aunts, uncles, and cousins, because there was never any hesitation that I was going to be going to a comfortable home to have a cozy recovery. The recovery for the second surgery was definitely different. I wouldn't say better or worse, but just I felt sick differently. I don't know how else to explain it other than that. I was more shaky and nauseous the second time, but in less pain. It is what it is, so let me put a smile on and keep it pushing. This too shall pass. God's got me. I just got to get through it. So I'm at my aunt's for a few weeks recovering while my household has a domino effect of getting COVID until it makes its way over to the house that I'm at. And then I have to go stay at my cousin's for a little while until it's time for the radiation. Radioactive iodine was in March of 2022. I had to be isolated for 12 days. Absolutely nobody could be around me, just due to the fact that I had 155 millicuries of radiation that were administered into my body. What's that mean? It means that I had to take these 2 radioactive pills that were stored in containers in a vault. And though the radiation was going in my body with purpose, it was not safe for others to be around me. To be honest, this is when I felt the worst. I'm on here being honest with all of you how I was feeling through this, but in reality, rarely did I let any of it get the best of me. Even when I did feel like folding, I would pick myself up almost immediately and keep pushing. It was easier to keep it pushing and know I was going in the direction I needed to be going in, but I'm literally stuck in an empty apartment by myself. I haven't stopped being in motion since getting out of the whirlwind of depression from the breakup. I've been in motion for the past couple of years at this point, just letting everything flow. Like they say in Madagascar, just smile and wave, boys. That was me. Just smile and wave, but keep it pushing. It's not that I wouldn't stop and self-reflect or take a moment to breathe, but it was on my terms, on my time. This time I was being forced into having to be alone. Alone with a large amount of radiation making me feel sick inside out. All I wanted to do was lay there and cry. There was a point one day where all I literally did was lay on the couch and cry. Nobody was there to distract me from how I was feeling. Nobody was there to help me feel better. I tried to take a nice, long, pretty bath, but no, that didn't help. Paint? No, not really. And I'm not much of a TV girl. I did binge some shows and watch my favorite movies, but the thing I did the most was sit with myself, try to look at things from a different perspective. As I will always say, to me, growth doesn't come with age. It comes with experience and what you're willing to go or filter through. It's knowing there's always more than one side to every story, and more than even 2 sides most times. And right now, I'm feeling some type of way about some things regarding people. People that, regardless of the situation, regardless of how little we may talk right now, even regardless of how little they reach out about something so serious, it doesn't necessarily mean that my love has to change. Maybe I have to love them from a distance. I can do that. But let me take a step back because right now in my world, I'm dealing with the biggest battle of my life. And ultimately, this is a me versus me battle, literally. And as much as I would have wanted these people in my corner as I'm in the ring just trying to box it out, I can't change the fact that they're either preferring or having to sit in some nosebleed seats. And as someone that falls off the face of the earth because I'm always trying to do too much, I realize we're all just walking testimonies. Just because I was going through something that was really scary and really hard and even huge didn't mean that others weren't going through their own battles. And who am I to say that my battle is bigger? Especially when I know God guides me. I never for a moment questioned otherwise. I stopped taking it so personally. Like I said in episode 2, I do not have control over anyone else, not their actions, reactions, feelings, emotions. Not to say that if given access, I could influence them, but ultimately, I don't have control over any of that. But neither does anyone else have control over my feelings, emotions, actions, or reactions. nor are mine anyone else's responsibility other than my own. One of my favorite life lessons has been to allow people to sit themselves. I'll explain. For me, as someone that has a whole lot of love for a whole lot of people, I envision a cafeteria full of my people, my village, the village that I have and the one that I'm creating. And I'm not obligated to allow anyone into my cafeteria, but I try to keep the door open for my people. Don't get me wrong, though. Some people are no longer allowed to sit in certain seats anymore. I will assign seats if necessary. And if it gets to the point where you gotta go, then you gotta go. And maybe we could come back later and reevaluate the situation, but I don't know. We'll have to see about that. You see, in my cafeteria, I know the tables that I have. I know what I bring to them confidently. I also know that I don't always have control of what's going to be served. I know what I bring to the table, but it also takes coordination of what goes well together, and you don't tend to eat the same things every day. You have to keep things filled and replenished. It's definitely maintenance, but baby, when you are in my cafeteria, you ain't got to worry about none of that. That's for me to figure out. As far as seating arrangements, there are a couple things that need to be understood. One, the only thing and person I have control over is me and the consistency of where I sit every day. Everyone chooses their own seat, but I can choose consistency within myself and understand the discipline it takes to sit in the same seat at my table every day. And two, though my people are in my cafeteria, it does not mean they do not have a cafeteria of their own, with their own people and their own experiences. To put it in deeper perspective, the people that sit at your table, where you have assigned yourself to sit consistently, would put you and whoever chooses to sit at your table in arm's reach of each other, where you can be there for each other. Communication is fluid and reciprocated. These are the people that you see and communicate with most consistently. And then there's the surrounding tables to your table. You still see each other and communicate, but may not be able to physically reach each other as easily. You communicate well, though, without having to get up. So maybe not daily or weekly, but still know you're just a call away. Or they're just a call away. You're both just a call away. But then there's the people that sit on the other side of the cafeteria. It doesn't mean that they're not your people. I mean, they're still willingly coming to your cafeteria and you're allowing them. The love doesn't necessarily change, but communication and being able to reach each other takes more work. And if it's not reciprocated, then it's cool, no hard feelings. Sometimes you have to learn to love people from a distance, but it doesn't mean you have to stop loving them. Sometimes we're on different paths or journeys, but we still want to support each other and each other's successes. I see you and I'm clapping for you, but you may not see or hear me over here, considering there's a whole cafeteria between us. If communication is good, we can make arrangements to meet up somewhere in the caf, give or take halfway. But if you can't meet me there, don't worry about it. No force, no pressure, and no hard feelings. Sometimes people rotate tables. Sometimes it happens unexpectedly. But if you try to force someone to sit in a specific seat, say you sit them next to a luxury seafood meal, but they end up being allergic to seafood, they're not going to be able to enjoy the meal or even pass you the dish to enjoy, which disappoints your expectations. But they probably wouldn't have sat themselves there if it would have been up to them in the first place. So in other words, what's in your control is in your control. The things, people, situations that are not, and that's okay. I don't have to take it personally. It truly doesn't have anything to do with me if how I'm moving is openly with pure intentions. There's already been times in my life where people have sat next to me consistently to just suddenly and abruptly get up and go to the other side of the cafeteria. Even when I was going through the roughest times, and it used to hurt. It used to hurt a lot. And it used to make me feel like I did something or said something or just like wasn't enough, especially when it's not necessarily something I would do to others or how I'd want anybody else to feel. So I've learned to allow others to sit themselves. Even if it leaves me alone at my table for a little bit, or people I wasn't necessarily expecting to sit next to me end up next to me, it has allowed me to form new relationships while understanding that each relationship, romantic or platonic, is merely an experience for each of us. For all of us, this is our first time experiencing this life. We're all just figuring out what works and what doesn't work for us. As beautiful as life can be, it can also be really hard. And I'm not here to make it harder for anyone, nor do I need anyone around that's going to make it harder for me. It's always so easy to see things from your own perspective, to know how things or situations make you feel. This was something that used to make me really triggered. I would tell people, I am not a 7-Eleven. Do not come around when it's just convenient for you. But now that I understand myself more, now that I understand my boundaries, what I bring to my own table, and what I'm willing to accept, and what I'm not willing to, what I refuse to accept, I have learned it's a lot more peaceful to accept things for how they are rather than how you want them to be. Don't get me wrong, when people start to move funny, it's definitely noted, but that's on you. And if it does have something to do with me and you can't communicate the issue, then again, that's not on me. I'm not here to read minds, nor can I really change how you feel. Truly, no hard feelings though. I love that I can love unconditionally, but I also know that I do not have to. I am not obligated to. But also, neither is anyone else, whether they know it or not. I'm not going to place anyone in a seat that they're not able and willing to fulfill. And as someone that loves to see the potential in people, that and willing part is vital to recognize. Allowing people to sit themselves has helped me maintain my peace in so many situations. And at the end of the day, I know the people that are intended to be at my table, the ones that are intended to stand next to me, will be next to me or will be at my table. What's meant for you will be yours. Maybe not on your terms, maybe not what you were expecting, but if it is for you, it will make its way to you. Shout out to my frontline. I definitely know who to call first and love and appreciate you all so much for everything. I hope this episode is a reminder to listen to yourself, to trust your mind, your body, and your spirit. If I didn't, I wouldn't have been diagnosed with the cancer until way later. I wouldn't have been able to reflect on myself and how I want to handle situations differently, or even take the steps it took to be willing and able to adjust my perspective to allow me to find peace. It's going to take a real special someone or situation to have full access of me, but when the time comes, I'll be more aware and I'll adjust accordingly. Fun fact, the thyroid is known as the butterfly gland. It's because of the way it's shaped. So this episode, I'm going to leave you with a flower known as the butterfly flower, a common milkweed flower. They also signify dignity, remembrance, and freedom, which I feel suits this episode really well. I hope you guys focus on finding and maintaining your peace and recognizing what is in your control and what's not in your control. I'm going to go ahead and sign off from here so I can hopefully start packing soon. But I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Bye.